Good. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا. اللهم اجعل اجتماعنا هذا اجتماعا مرحوما واجعل تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل معنا ولا فينا شقيا ولا محروما. جزاكم الله خيرا for coming tonight. Inshallah. Last week, Sheikh Firas told me that he stopped in the lesson to where or to when Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayt saw Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam making sujood, and he got the internal organs or the intestines of a camel and he put it on his back. And then and that is a disgusting thing to have, very disrespectful. And Rasulullah felt it. It's this slimy worm thing on his back. So Rasulullah didn't move, and nobody would dare to help Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because that will come with consequences. And Rasulullah remained like that until his daughter Fatima radiyallahu anha came in and helped him. She removed the dirt or whatever that was on his back and helped him up. And then Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at that time, it's like when somebody get a Rasul, if they even get a Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam to get at that level of being angry at them. So he made dua on al-mushrikeen, and he made it specific for 7 people. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Allahumma alayka bi Abi Jahl. Yani, oh Allah Azza wa Jal, I am leaving Abu Jahl to you. You deal with him. So when you say something like this, it's like, I'm not going to tell you to do something specific for him, but you know what he's doing, you take care of him. Okay? She said, Allahumma alayka bi Abi Jahl. That was the first person. عتبة بن ربيعة وشيبة بن ربيعة الوليد بن عتبة أمية بن خلف وعقبة بن أبي معيط. And then there was a 7th person that the Sahabi who narrated the hadith couldn't remember who that was. However, at the time of Ghazwat Badr, all of these people that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam named, they were killed and they were thrown in a well called Al-Qulayb next to Badr. Okay, this will inshallah will come when we talk about Ghazwat Badr inshallah ta'ala. And if we think about that happened less than 10 years. Okay, less than 10 years from that moment where Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was like kind of being persecuted at every corner in Mecca, where these people will even have the audacity of come to somebody with the caliber of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam to do something bad like that for him. In less than 10 years, they were all dead in the very first big interaction or military interaction between Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Quraysh. This kind of a lot of the time when we are talking about the hardship and the calamity that the Muslimin went through in Mecca, we say that kind of not only to say like to feel bad for them, but also to remember that the cycle will not always be that we are being the ones who are being persecuted, the ones who are being oppressed, the ones who are being tortured at every corner. That things will change. Okay, sometimes and a lot of times when you are in the midst of a calamity or a hardship, you think to yourself, it's like there is no way that something good is going to come out of this. We are finished. We are being done for. Okay, we're being exterminated. And then the leader, his job will come and kind of try to soothe the people following him. It's like you have to be patient. You have to go through these pains. You all probably familiar with the hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam with some of his companions. They came to him complaining. Said, these al-kuffar, they're like really torturing us so much. It's like we are under so much pressure here. Okay, why wouldn't you ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us the victory? Why wouldn't you ask Allah Azza wa Jal to give us, to save us from these people? Okay, Rasulullah at that time, he was lying next to the Kaaba. And he would say that the people before you, meaning that the nations before al-Muslimin, okay, all of us, this cycle of you being persecuted for something that you believe in, this is not something that is special for Muslims. It happens everywhere. As a matter of fact, it happens even sometimes you can hold the wrong idea and still be persecuted for it. Okay? It's just one group of people feel that if you just pressure somebody hard enough, if you torture them hard enough, that you're going to convince them to change their ideas. It didn't work before, it will never work. Okay? The changing ideas does not come when you're like oppressing people. Okay? Actually, sometimes the enemy kind of becomes smarter with that with times. Like, okay, trying to come at you with force doesn't work. I'm going to give you money, and they start slowly. And then little by little they start changing. See, like you're probably, if you just follow my way of life, if you try to follow my ideologies and stuff like that, things are actually will become easier for you. That way is more effective in changing people's minds than just to oppress them and torture them and giving them a hard time. Subhanallah al-Azim. So Rasulullah would say that the people before you, somebody will declare their faith, they will be brought, and then they will be sewed from top to bottom, okay, with a metal saw until they're two parts, and that will not make them change their mind or change their faith. Okay, a man will be brought, and they will get this iron device where it will fillet them basically. Okay, so get the flesh to separate the flesh from the skin from their bones. Okay, that will kill them, right? But it will be a very painful, slow death. Yet that will not be an excuse for them to leave their deen. Okay, so Rasulullah would say that the people before you, they were in such severe hardship, but that wouldn't make them change their mind. So the victory of Allah Azza wa Jal will come. You're not patient enough. You just have to be patient. Now it is very easy for us, sitting at the comfort of our homes, we are safe, we're able to preach the Seerah of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and what happens? Like, oh yeah, it's really easy. These Sahaba, they just needed to be patient. Just in a few years, everything's going to be all right. Okay, now the question, the real test for us is to see when you are under pressure, when you are being under calamity, when you are being persecuted for your belief, are you going to be patient? Or are you going to give up and say, this is really not all worth it? I'm going just, live my life and save myself, and then why would I stand for anything? Okay, or you can just despair and say, I don't really know. There is no way that there is a way out of this. Okay, this victory of Allah Azza wa Jal is not something that I'm probably going to see. And this gets you to this endless cycle of, and at the end of the day, people start feeling it's our fault that we're preaching the word of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, maybe we should have not done that. Maybe we should have not. And then this gets you to a dangerous area where we're not supposed to go to. Yes, times are hard. Yes, our Muslim brothers and sisters are being persecuted very hardly. Okay, we cannot even imagine what people are going through. We see videos about what's happening to them every day. But people who come from there, they said that these videos, they don't even depict anything, hardly anything from the day-to-day suffering that our brothers and sisters go through every day. Okay, so when we talk about the hardship of the Muslimin, okay, remember, it happened before, it happens today, it will continue to happen. Okay, this is what happens when you're holding an ideal that you want people to follow. Okay, that doesn't mean that you're supposed, we're going to talk about that here in a little bit, that you're supposed to just subject yourself to torture and punishment and just say nothing or do nothing. This is not the point of it. However, if you're in a situation where this is imposed on you, you have to be patient. This is what we are supposed to learn from that. So if something like this happened to Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, much bigger faults happened to his companions who did not have the same protection or status that Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam had at that time. But Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, he was exposed, in addition to the example that we started talking about with Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayth, he had many other examples with al-mushrikeen or the al-kuffar kind of giving him hard time. So Umayyah ibn Khalaf, if he sees Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he will slander him, he will backbite him when he's not there. And and his brother Ubay ibn Khalaf, he was a friend with Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayth that we just mentioned. So one day Uqba was sitting to our Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Sometimes, we will get to this even a little more. You can try to hide the truth for some time. You cannot hide the truth all the time. Okay, and sometimes these big kuffar of Quraysh, they will have these moments. It's like, let's listen to the man. Okay, although their collective action when they sat together, وقال الذين كفروا لا تسمعوا لهذا القرآن والغوا فيه لعلكم تغلبون. So their collective action was, don't even listen to this man. We don't want to even know what he is talking about. And we are going to make every excuse and make whatever lies that we can make just to show it to other people that this whole speech is nonsense. Okay? That was their professional or their official stance on the matter. However, every now and again, one of them will slip and say, let me hear for myself. Let me think about this for a second. If you think about that, when you hear about like the media, for example, okay, this is an example that comes all the time. Okay, mainstream media and how it shows our side of the story. We are being Muslims, regardless really what part of the world you're from. Okay, for somebody who the other side, you kind of say, our point of view is not represented at all. And then you say that it's like, it's not strange that although we live in this world where everything is accessible for you at your, in your phone screen, yet most people, they don't really know, they don't understand why. Big part of it there is just things are fed to them easily. So they have, and then they think that they know what is going on. So really have no need for them to go and look beyond what is presented to them. Okay? And this makes it very easy to manipulate the masses. Although everything, the truth is really available. It is just, you put so much additives and so much nonsense around it. For somebody who doesn't know, it makes it difficult for them to know what to believe and what not to believe. Okay, and a lot of times this is successful. However, this is not successful over the long term, because at the end of the day, the truth will emerge eventually. Okay, so Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayth was listening to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. His friend Ubay ibn Khalaf, he heard about that. He said, okay, now this is a deal breaker. I'm giving you an ultimatum. You can never do something like this again. You have to do something. You have to spit in the face of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So Uqba bin Abi Mu'ayth did that. He did just that. Imagine that. Subhanallah al-Azim. Ubay ibn Khalaf, he got a piece of old bone. He crushed it, and then he blew whatever is left in the face of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He does something like this. He means to undermine Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He means to humiliate Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Another person, his name was Al-Akhnasu ibn Shurayq al-Thaqafi. Okay, he was also kind of always backbiting, always slandering Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He's doing it so bad that Allah Azza wa Jal revealed few ayat of the Quran just to describe this person alone. Imagine that kind of publicity that you get. Okay, so even 1400 years later, we still hear the name of Al-Akhnas ibn Shurayq and hear what Allah Azza wa Jal told us about him in the Quran in such a bad way. For him, of course, that is not here. Any publicity is good publicity doesn't really apply. So Al-Quran described him with many attributes. Allah Azza wa Jalla said, وَلَا تُطِعْ كُلَّ حَلَّافٍ مَهِينٍ. Don't listen to him. He swears a lot. Okay, and he keeps swearing on everything that you're really not thinking highly of him anymore. Okay, because his word, he's not able to prove anything. His only way of proving things is just by swearing. It's like, I swear that this is true. When somebody keeps saying like this, like, I cannot trust you, right? Hammazin Masha'in Biramin. He slanders people. He goes between people. He says, by the way, do you know that this person said this thing about you? Okay, this is a habit for him. He is a lowly person. He's not somebody to be respected to start with. He might have a status in his people, maybe because he's rich. Okay, but if you want to weigh his attributes, he's such a terrible person. Manna'in lil khayri mu'tadin athim. And if somebody is trying to do good, he said, no. Why do you want to give the poor? Don't do that. They don't need it. They find other ways. Okay, you're not supposed to spend your money on these people. Okay, and then they transgress. They don't play within their lines. Anything that they can get, they can snatch, then they do it. Okay, a theme. They're very sinful. عُتُلٍ بَعْدَ ذَلِكَ زَنِيمٍ. And then Al-Quran Kareem like added to, if you wished, the cherry on top, and he said, and this person, he came from an illegitimate marriage. And this is a very big insult for somebody to say, you know what, you're a bastard, basically. Because the Arab people, they highly valued their ancestry. Okay, who's my father, my grandfather. If you remember the first lesson that we talked about, like how everybody knew like maybe 15 to 20 of their great-grandparents. Okay, and that was the way that I was like, I am a better person than you because that was my father and that was my grandfather. Then Al-Quran Kareem will say that this person, Al-Akhnash ibn Quraysh, ibn Shurayt, he's even a bastard. He's not even the son of his dad. Okay, that is a big deal. Subhanallah al-Azim. Abu Jahl, we all hear about Abu Jahl. We know like how Abu Jahl was very hard on the Muslimin, was very hard on Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Okay? Then Rasul, Allah Azza wa Jal, also describes some of the things that Abu Jahl did and his interaction with Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Allah Azza wa Jal would say, فَلَا صَدَّقَ وَلَا صَلَّى. This is in Surah Ish, Surah Al-Alaq. Okay, this is the first surah. So it gets to mention Abu Jahl. He wouldn't pay alms, he wouldn't give to charity, and he wouldn't pray. Okay, وَلَكِنْ كَذَّبَ وَتَوَلَّى. He just didn't believe in you, he didn't want to listen, he just went another way. Alright? And he will go to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because sometimes when you're given da'wah, it's not always about being nice. And it's like, hey, just come, Allah, we love you, our deen is the deen of love, and you are going to get into Jannah, you just need to believe. Yes, this is part of it. But sometimes when you see like somebody is an enemy for you, okay, somebody is doing everything that they can to undermine you and your efforts and prevent you from spreading your da'wah, sometimes you need to take a different approach to him. Okay? So Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, at one of these times, he would hold Abu Jahl. Okay? And he would say like, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? You cannot be doing this all the time. Okay? Allah Azza wa Jal is going to punish you for what you're doing. So Abu Jahl will get to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and say, you're threatening me with your God? You didn't know that I have more allies that you or your God can handle? I don't think that you will be able to do anything for me. That's what Abu Jahl would say. Okay, of course, it will not stop at Abu Jahl being verbally abusive to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He will also try to harm Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam physically, like we are going to see here. Okay, he will go to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and he will tell him, you cannot be praying in public. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam made it a habit that he will be praying next to the Kaaba like everybody was supposed to, except that the people of Quraysh, they will forbid Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his companions from doing something to this effect. So this was a big deal. In other instances, he tried to go and harm Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He even tried to assassinate him, like we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Except if it was not for the protection of Allah Azza wa Jal, then we would have a completely different outcome for the entire seerah. But subhanallah, Abu Jahl was not able to harm Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. One time he threatened that if I see Muhammad praying next to the Kaaba, that I'm going to step over his neck, and I am going to just get dirt all over his face. So he came into Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam while he was praying, and then he just came back, said, what happened? And he would say that I saw that there was a trench between me and Muhammad, and there was like a lot of fire between me and him, and I was afraid if I get to him that the fire was going to eat me. Now we don't know what he saw. He saw what he saw. It was like kind of protection from Allah Azza wa Jal to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So this, like I said, this happened to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, although he was protected by his uncle Abu Talib. Now, the protection of Abu Talib was not going to be like effective 100% of the time. Still, to a reasonable degree, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam was able to go by his life, and spread his da'wah to the Muslimin. However, did his companions get the same courtesy or the same treatment of al-mushrikeen? Absolutely not. It was a completely different story for them. And how much torture you got or how much bothering you got, it depended on your status and how protected you were by your family. Okay, and then because it was a tribal community, it was not acceptable from somebody from this tribe to go to a person from another tribe with the same status and try to torture them for their religion. So it was left that each tribe will take care of its own. Okay, so because other than that, it was going to create a lot of fracas, and this is not something that the Quraysh community wanted to deal with at that time, like we are going to see here over and over, this theme of trying to respect the lines of tribalism and what you can do and what you cannot do. Make sense? So if somebody was with status, his people were going to take care of him, they're going to deal with him. Abu Jahl, if he hears that somebody with status is going to accept Islam or he's listening to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he will go and threaten them. Like, you know what's going to happen if you follow Muhammad or if you keep listening to him? Nobody is going to buy anything from you. Your trade is going, you're going to get out of business, basically. Probably your wife is going to leave you. Your family is going to disown you, etc., etc. And if that person was weaker, then they were tortured heavily. Sayyidina Uthman bin Affan, he was, with a good status in his tribe. Yet his uncle, he will put him like in a carpet, if you wish, that is made out of palm trees, hasira. I don't know what is the right word for that in English. And he will just like lit a fire underneath it, so he will kind of just suffocate from the smoke. No, a lot of people did not get that same, mild punishment. Now you can all hear about stories like Sayyidina Bilal bin Rabah, for example. Okay, Bilal, he was a slave for Umayyah ibn Khalaf. Okay, and he was one of the first people who accepted Islam. Okay, we all know the story of how Umayyah ibn Khalaf, he will take him to the outskirts of Mecca to a part called Al-Batha. Okay, it's just like an open place where it's like, there is sand, and what happens to the sand when you hit it with 120 degrees temperature, it becomes very, very hot. Okay, so he will throw him over the hot sand, and he will get a big boulder and he will put it on his chest, and he will torture him so much. He's just asking to denounce Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And you're all familiar with what Bilal bin Rabah would say. He would just say ahadun ahad. Okay, now I want you to kind of to remember now. Here, over 1400 years later, we are talking about Sayyidina Bilal ibn Rabah. We all know him, right? Was, later on, things got easier for Sayyidina Bilal. He became the mu'adhin of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, right? But was Sayyidina Bilal ever an army leader? Did he lead anybody to anything? No. He was, remember, that these men that we are talking about, they're like men like us. Not all of them had the faculty to be a leader of an ummah or a community. Okay, not because he was a slave. This is not the point. The point was what he gave for Islam at that level, based on what he was able to give, is so much, even in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal. Okay, that we are still praising him for what he did every day. Right? Everybody knows who Bilal is. We are calling our kids Bilal after Sayyidina Bilal ibn Rabah. Okay, people from all ethnicities and background appreciate Sayyidina Bilal ibn Rabah. However, the point of success that we praise Sayyidina Bilal for was not him being like, was not being an army leader or somebody who conquered cities or somebody who is a strategist or anything like that. We are praising him for following Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the points of extreme uncertainty. Okay, when following Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam for somebody in his status meant that he might die for following Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, we are praising him for when he was under so much pressure and he was even allowed to say something just to get them to be off his back. He wouldn't budge one bit, and he would stay the course. This is something that we praise Sayyidina Bilal ibn Rabah for always and forever. Okay, and we, kind of when somebody come to you now, look, people, we among us, when we don't follow our deen, okay, we come with all kind of weird stuff. Okay, from racism to not following, from doing all kind of sins. We're people. Okay. However, when we're truly following our deen, you're going to see this person who's like coming from a big family and stuff like that, going to like Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab. He will talk about Sayyidina Bilal ibn Rabah, and he will say that Sayyidina Abu Bakr Sayyiduna. He's like our master, like our elder. Okay, Abu Bakr is like a big deal, right? وَأَعْتَقَ سَيِّدَنَا. And he freed our master. He freed one of the most distinguished Muslims, Sayyidina Abu Bakr. Because you understand. This is why Sayyidina Umar, later on when he was the Khalifa, the people he will allow to be around him are these like the people who were like weak and tortured and taken advantage of around the time of Mecca. And he will listen to their advice, and he will be very close to them. And at around that time, everybody became Muslim. Okay, so the leaders of Quraysh at that time, okay, they will come and they were trying to get to meet with Sayyidina Umar, and he will not allow them in first. And then they will get really offended. And so you're leaving us behind, and you are listening to the likes of Bilal ibn Rabah and Suhaib ibn Sinan and the likes of them. And then Sayyidina Umar, he will tell them, he was like, you had an opportunity to be like them, but you refused. You didn't want to be with the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And because you made that decision, you don't get to be in the same status as these guys are. Okay? Now again, remember, that doesn't mean that you're following the Islam from day one. That means that you're going to be the leader of an army. It doesn't work like that. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his leaders, his lieutenants, when he would send people who have the understanding of how to lead an army. So his leaders of the army would be somebody like Amr ibn al-As, like Khalid ibn al-Walid, like somebody who knows what they're doing in that particular matter. Okay, so again, your success is not dictated only by your skills. Your success in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal means that you were patient and you did what you were supposed to do in that particular time. Even if what he did in that particular time did not get anybody into Islam in that particular moment. It just told the kuffar that regardless how much you are torturing me, you're not getting anything out of me. Although I am a slave and you own me and you're able to do whatever with no repercussions. If Umayyah ibn Khalaf killed Bilal ibn Rabah that day, nothing would have happened. Nobody would think twice about it. He was his property. If Umayyah killed him, it would be just, he's just a master. He was trying to keep his property in line. But what Sayyidina Bilal ibn Rabah did was something so important that he said, yes, you own my body, but you don't own my thinking. You don't own my mind. I am not obliged to be following what you're telling me just because you own me, just because you have this contract or that piece of paper to say that you own me. And that by itself is very, very important and very powerful. This is why we're still talking about it for over 1400 years later. Sayyidina Mus'ab ibn Umair, he was one of the young people in Mecca with a very luxurious lifestyle. He would go in a different outfit every day. He would have a cologne that nobody else will put except for him. That people will know that if he was walking the alleys of Mecca, people will say Mus'ab was walking by here. That was Mus'ab ibn Umair. Once he listened to the message, when he heard the message of Islam and he followed, things changed for him. His mother was taking care of him. He said, look, listen, man. You see all these luxuries? You're getting all these luxuries because of me. You want to follow Muhammad? Cool, follow Muhammad. But you're cut out. You've got nothing. All these colognes and lotions and nice clothes and silk clothes and this and that you're getting nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that's what happened. Kind of think about that for a second. Are you okay with just giving up everything that you own, regardless how little that was? Your phone, your clothes, your car, your house, and you become essentially homeless, just so you are true to your beliefs? I was thinking when I read this story so many times before, but it's like I was thinking to myself today, what if that happened to me? And somebody says, we're going to take everything that you have, and you're homeless just because of something that you believe in. Okay, you don't even have to leave it. It's just we're going to take your stuff away. Would I be okay with that? It's not easy. Not easy at all. And the more that you have, and the more luxurious lifestyle that you have, it becomes even harder and harder for you to do. But that's what a true belief makes in the heart of the Muslim. If you fast forward to the Ghazwat Uhud, Sayyidina Mus'ab died. Mus'ab ibn Umair died. He was martyred in that battle. So they would bring him, and they need to get the kafan. They have to cover him, this cloth to cover him after he was deceased. And they're trying to find something for him. They couldn't find anything. They only found one piece of cloth that if they covered his face, his feet will be exposed. And if they covered his feet, then his face will be exposed. Then Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he told them, just cover his face and get this piece of plant and just cover the rest of his body. And Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he will cry when he sees something like that. He said, I know this man. I know him. You know him since he was little. Like he had the most comfortable lifestyle ever. And now we're not even able to get him a piece of cloth to cover him. Okay? However, these people, they were okay with all that. We're doing it for our belief, because we believe in something. We believe that, doing this is going to get us somewhere. Because once you believe in Allah Azza wa Jal, and your goal changes, your mindset changes. That all these luxuries that we live with day in and day out, they're not real. They're temporary. I'm not looking for, you can take all that stuff. This is what they say. You can take all that stuff away. It doesn't matter. For how long you're able to torture me? 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years? And then what? Then we both die. And then this is all done. This is what the Muslimin were thinking of. It's like we say this over and over and over again. We all want the deen of Allah Azza wa Jal to prevail. We all want to see the victory. However, while we are pursuing this, remember that we all of us have an obligation toward ourselves, our individual self. At the end of the day, when we are in front of Allah Azza wa Jal, we are going to be resurrected alone, by yourself. He's going to get you alone and ask you alone, what did you do? And what did you hold in your heart? When I tested you with this, what did you do? We all know our tests. We all know the evidence that Allah Azza wa Jal throws our way day in and day out. We know that. We all know that. We are all exposed to it. And Allah Azza wa Jal is going to ask you about that particular thing that you have control over, and what did you do with it? The Sahaba, understood that. At the end of the day, you can take anything that you want from me. You can torture me as much as you want. But this is all short-lived. What we are looking for is when you are standing in front of Allah Azza wa Jal and you said, what did you do for my deen? I said, I did this. I said, yes, you did. Good job. That's what we should be looking for. Okay, not our luxuries. Allah Azza wa Jal said, one of the surah I was reciting today coming in here, Surah Al-Takathur, ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. Allah Azza wa Jal is going to ask us about all the luxuries that He's giving us. But I'm not asking you to give it up, give it away. It's just think about it as a resource, and you're allowed to use it right now. You don't know if you're going to use it forever. Okay? But while you are using it, know that Allah Azza wa Jal, that this is part of our test. Know that Allah Azza wa Jal is going to ask us, what did you do with what I gave you? With the privilege that I gave you at that day, at that amount, for that amount of time, whether it was short-lived or long-lived. That was Sayyiduna Mus'ab. We talked about Sayyidina Bilal. You know the story of Sayyidina Ammar ibn Yasir. Okay, we know that his family were like, they were free people. Some of the narration said that his father was a slave, and then there was like a mechanism where a slave can be freed. Okay, however, they will never be to the same level or degree that, somebody from a big family would be. Okay, so their old masters, they still have some control over them. Okay, so when Sayyidina Ammar ibn Yasir and his father and his mother all accepted Islam, okay, they were under the protection of Banu Makhzum. Okay, who is from Banu Makhzum? Abu Jahl. Okay, Abu Jahl, he was in charge of torturing them. So Yasir, he was an old, frail man. So it didn't take much of torture until he died under torture. Okay, Sumayya, she will be tied up, and Abu Jahl will come to her and he will say that you need to say something good about Allah wal Uzza, about our idols, about our gods. And she wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that until he got so fed up with her, he killed her. And then, Sayyidina Ammar, he will see that both his parents are killed in front of his eyes, and he has been being tortured so heavily. So they will come to him and say, you just need to say one word. You just need to say something good or something nice about our idols. That's it. He was under so much pressure that he said it. What is the next thing that follows? It's like, oh my God, I did all this for nothing. I am done for. I am doomed. I just said the one thing that they wanted me to say. I failed my test. So he will go to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam in an extreme shame. What did I do to myself? All that is going for nothing. So here Allah Azza wa Jal, he will relieve him. Okay, he will reveal some ayat to Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He will say, إِلَّا مَنْ أُكْرِهَ وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ مَنْ كَفَرَ بِاللَّهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ إِيمَانِهِ إِلَّا مَنْ أُكْرِهَ وَقَلْبُهُ مُطْمَئِنٌ بِالْإِيمَانِ. So it will be punished heavily, the one who leaves their deen after they accepted it, except for this one person who get persecuted into saying a word of kufr. Okay, in that case, it will be forgiven. Okay, and then Sayyidina Ammar, he was like one of the pillars of the Islam. Okay, he was with Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam at every corner. That at one point in time, Sayyidina Ammar, he got ill, and then somebody told Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we think Ammar might die. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, no, Ammar is not dying today. He is going to be killed by this transgressor group of people. Okay, this happens way later when there was the fitna or the test between Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu and Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan. Okay, Sayyidina Ammar, he was with Ali. Okay, he was taking the stand of Ali bin Abi Talib that this is the Imam that we should follow and we shouldn't be distracting ourselves right now. But that is a story for another time. Okay, but the pressure that the Sahaba were under was humongous. It was so bad. Khabbab ibn al-Arat, he was another Sahabi, another one of the companions of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They will put him like on burning coals. Okay, so until like decades later, people will see the effect of the burns on his back. Many other women enslaved and freed, and some of the weak, they were also tortured heavily. Again, our interaction with them, we only know their names. Okay, we don't know, like they were not Aisha bint Abi Bakr. They didn't narrate thousands of hadith from Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that was not their role. What they did is they just accepted Islam and they stood their grounds. That's what they're supposed to do, and that's it. And this is enough for them. Okay, that their masters will punish them so heavily. Okay, Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu anhu, when he was kafir, he had one of those, and he tortured her until she became blind. Somebody else he kept torturing her, and he said, you know what, I'm just bored of torturing you today. So he let her be. It's like you know, you're not, I cannot win with you. You know, I keep torturing and torturing and torturing, and we're going nowhere. I'm just going to leave you alone. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu, he had access to money. So what he would do, he will go and buy these slaves, and then he will emancipate them. Okay? And then the people of Quraysh, they will go and say to Abu Bakr, are you crazy? You're spending some really good money on these useless people. Okay, they've been tortured, they're done for, they're very weak, they're malnourished. Use your money to get yourself some strong slaves here, man. Okay? And Abu Bakr will say, we're really having two different tones here. We're not on the same page of the book. Subhanallah al-Azim. So the da'wah of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam continued to be in Darul Arqam. And Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he encouraged his companions, to lay it on the low down. You don't have to go around Al-Kaaba and, start reciting Quran, especially if you do not have any protection. This is something that is very hard for you to do. You all probably know the story of Sayyiduna Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, when he went and he decided that he's going to get the people of Quraysh to listen to some of the Quran. So he came in and he started reciting it until Abu Jahl, he got him down. It's like, come down. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he was like this little petite guy. He was not a big guy. And Abu Jahl was this humongous guy. Okay? So Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, think about him as like this maybe 4'5" guy, and think about Abu Jahl like Chris Jones. Okay? Big difference, right? So Abu Jahl will crush him. And he got his ear, he's like, yanked him from his ear until part of his ear came with the hands of Abu Jahl. Okay, that was something big, and he tortured him so much for that. Okay, very good. When do we stop? Should we stop now? It's already late. I thought always, subhanallah al-azim, I always think that we're gonna finish something more, but then we don't. Inshallah, I am going to leave Sheikh Firas to start next time from the first migration to Abyssinia. Inshallah ta'ala. Wa jazakumullahu khairan. If you have any questions, I would love to hear them. We good? Jazakumullahu khairan. Sorry if